Good morning, Mr. Mngadi.
Good morning, Chief Justice.
Are you well?
I am well, thank you for asking, and good morning, everybody.
Thank you. You first obtained Diploma Juris Cum Laude and subsequently Diploma Legion.
That is correct, Chief Justice.
Was it at an institution that was loosely referred to as Haras, or was it elsewhere?
It's the same institution which was known as Haras.
At KwaZulu-Natal.
That's correct, Chief Justice.
Yes. And where did you obtain your B.Proc degree?
I obtained it also at the same University of Zululand. In fact, I did the additional courses through UNISA.
Yes.
And then they accredited me and converted my diplomas into a degree, the B.Proc.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
And your LLB, where did you do it?
I also did it at the University of Zululand.
When did you complete it?
In 1986.
86. And MBA?
The MBA, I did it at the University of Potchefstroom. Potchefstroom, yes. The
Yes.
satellite office at Richards Bay.
Is that so?
That is correct, yeah. And I did it in 98 to 2001.
Okay. And do you do a bit of tax?
That is correct. I also did a postgraduate diploma in taxation.
Yes. And for how long have you been practicing as an attorney?
Chief Justice, I practiced for 15 years.
Yes.
Yes.
And you're still practicing?
I am still practicing. In fact, I left the legal aid last year in April.
Yes.
Yes, but after that date, most of the time I've been acting, so I've not actually reactivated my practice.
Yes. And have you left it with someone else? Your
No, I
practice?
resigned from the legal aid in April 2017.
Yes.
Yes.
And then what happened?
And then after that, I was acting as a judge.
Or with no other fixed employment?
That is correct. That is
Okay.
correct, Chief Justice.
All right. And how did you find your acting experience there? How did you find the environment? Did you acclimatize easily? Was it particularly challenging? What have you to say about your acting stint?
Initially, Chief Justice, it was a new environment. That is the relationship with the colleagues, the other judges, relationship with the council. But as far as the work is concerned, I think my experience, and of course, as a High Court unit manager, I had litigated, I would say, extensively in the High Court, doing criminal appeals mainly, of course, in the provincial division and also at the SCA. So it wasn't a new environment in that sense.
Yes.
Yes.
And what is the longest period you've kept a judgment reserved for?
There is one judgment, Chief Justice, which I would say I kept it for 3 months.
Yes.
But again, I'm hesitant to say I kept it for 3 months because I prepared the judgment 3 weeks after the hearing. But of course, it was an appeal, a civil appeal. So what I had prepared, I had to give it to the other judge. And then it was with the other judge which delayed it, and it was delivered after 3 months.
Yes. It was not it did not relate to an urgent matter, did it?
No, it was simply a civil appeal from the magistrate's court.
Yes. And you say that was the longest?
That was the longest, Chief Justice.
Yes. What is it about your suitability for this position that you wouldn't want us to inadvertently pay insufficient attention to or give insufficient weight to?
Well, Chief Justice, without maybe boasting about it, but I believe...
Please boast this.
Yes. Well, I think I'm perfectly suited for the position. Firstly, if one looks at my academic qualifications, I've covered all the areas of the law. Then secondly, if you look at my experience, I've been involved in the practice of the law for 40 years. Then thirdly, if you look at my judgments, because I have acted Chief Justice for 9 months. And during that period, I have prepared about 25 written judgments, excluding extempore judgments. And about 15 or 16 of those judgments are reported in SAFLI. So I think I'm equipped and I'm able to do the job. And of course, I've also got passion for justice. And so I think given my personality, because apart from simply my technical competence, I believe I've got strong personal values. I believe in integrity, which is honesty. I believe in fairness, and I also believe in accountability. And lastly, I also believe in respect. And it's not only just a belief. That's what I've been practicing for the last 15 years. Even those who worked with me whilst I was with the legal aid as my subordinates, I set an example with those beliefs. And of course, if you look at how I approach my work, you know, I always do my work on time. In fact, from my study days, I was always of the view that I must prepare at an early stage, not to be the one who prepares at the last stage. So even that's how I approach my work. That's why I don't have, I don't take time in delivering reserved judgments. So generally, I believe that I'll be able to add value to the judiciary. And of course, my colleagues, I believe in the division, because it is important if you're a judge that you work with your colleagues and that you carry out the duties allocated to you effectively, and that the colleagues, especially when you do appeals, petitions, the colleagues must be able to rely on your judgment. They must have trust in you. So I believe that colleagues have got trust in me, not simply because I am Mngadi, but because of they know me from the time when I was arguing appeals before them. And then, of course, over the period when I was acting, they have worked with me.
DJP?
Thank you, Chief Justice. Mr. Mngadi, I have known you since 1978 when we were employed as clerks at the Magistrate Court in Escort.
That is correct, DJP.
At that time, you were still a youngster.
Yes, in fact, I think at that time I was 20 years old.
Yeah. Mr. Mngadi, we have acted in KwaZulu-Natal, South Gauteng, and North Gauteng. Is that so?
That is correct, DJP.
As compared to KwaZulu-Natal division, how did you find South and North Gauteng divisions respectively?
Well, DJP, they do things differently in South Gauteng and in North Gauteng. I think in particular in South Gauteng, as far as their motion court is concerned, is managed differently. I don't know whether it's because of volumes. And of course, even in North Gauteng in Pretoria, because I was also doing civil there, and they organize things differently. So the same applies as far as KZN, Durban, and Pietermaritzburg. They've got their own way of doing things. So my view is that if you are placed in a particular division, you have to, the first thing, you have to be familiar with their practice directives. Unfortunately, we find that in each division, usually the senior judges will have produced a manual which will assist you in carrying out your duties. And therefore, if you are familiar with these manuals, if you are faced, let us say, with a large volume of matters in motion court, and then you have to, when you are reading, you will sort of have a checklist. In each and every matter, you try and find out what is an area of concern. When you are in court, you simply invite counsel to address the area of concern, and then you can make a ruling. That's how you can manage the volume of matters.
So, can you tell us how you acquitted yourself in these three divisions? That's KwaZulu-Natal, South Gauteng, and North Gauteng.
Well, as I have stated, Deputy Judge President, in South Gauteng, I equipped myself in that I was able to deal with the large volume that is in the motion court as I was doing civil within the hours which the other judges normally do and finish the motion court. Because if you are stuck in the motion court, and then it will be known that you are finding it difficult to cope. So I did not have any difficult to cope. I was not in any way assisted, and I did not pick up any issues either with council or with other colleagues. The same applies in Pretoria, that is in the North Gauteng division. But as I've indicated, the key to it, if you are doing motion court unopposed matters, be familiar with the practice directives, prepare your checklist, and then when you prepare matters to court, note in each matter what will be the area of concern and invite counsel to deal with that issue and then make a ruling.
So during your acting stints, has there been any complaint lodged or criticism leveled against you about the way you perform your judicial functions?
DJP, I'm not aware of any criticism either from colleagues. Then even before we, after I made myself available, I'm not aware of any comments either by the law bodies which were in any way critical of the way I carried out my judicial functions as an acting judge.
Did you receive any compliments?
Well, if I say they were not negative, so I'll say that they were positive. And in particular, I attach more importance to that of the GCB, because when you are carrying out the duties of an acting judge, you work with counsel who are members of the various bars. So I'm not aware. Their comment, in my view, is a positive comment.
So, I take it that you are conversant with the traditional legal system. Is that so?
That is correct, DJP.
If you come across a scenario where there's a problem in the traditional legal system, would it be appropriate to substitute customary law, substitute common law for customary law in that instance in resolving a problem?
My first, DJP, my first port of call will be to see whether that problem can be accommodated in customary law. And if it cannot be accommodated in customary law, the next attempt will be to try and see whether the principles of customary law can be developed to be in accordance with the spirit, the purpose, and the objects of the Bill of Rights, if that is a problem, rather than to completely substitute what should be dealt with and be adjudicated according to customary law and adjudicated according to common law.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, DJP. MEC?
Thank you, CJ. Good morning, good day. Good day, Mr. Mngadi. Good day, Commissioner. What has been your direct contribution in assisting to transform the judiciary over the years in your long service in the legal profession, taking into consideration Section 174, subsection 2 of the Constitution, and looking at the demographics of the KZN High Court bench? And the second part of my question, which I think is relevant to transformation, what do you think needs to be done to ensure access to the justice system for the poor people of rural KwaZulu-Natal from a financial and location point of view? Thank you, MEC. As far as transformation is concerned, as the DJP pointed out, amongst my colleagues who were clerks, I am the first one who made use or looked for and made use of an opportunity to improve myself in studying. And I'm pleased that immediately after I had done that, and then a number of other colleagues, because we were in a homeland structure, of course, where our own parents were from poor backgrounds, they could not take us through the university. But having opened that door, and then a number of my colleagues, they in fact followed suit and they qualified and they obtained tertiary education. But again, in my entire working career, even whilst I was in private practice, apart from that, the fact that I was serving mainly the poor communities and giving them the best service that they could get, I also took students from the university, and some of them served articles with me, both female and male. And of course, when I joined the legal aid, my main reason for joining the legal aid, I said, I've worked on my own in my private practice, but now let me use my own expertise to empower the poorest of the poor. And then I joined the legal aid. And then most people were very pleased that a person of my profile joined the legal aid, and I empowered people who were, in many the practitioners who were working under the legal aid environment, which in my view I regard it as empowerment. But again, when I worked with them, when I managed the center, that is from 2005 to 2009, all those who worked with me, when I recruited staff, because I was in charge of recruiting, when I recruited candidate attorneys, I looked and supported African females, which was part of the transformation. And then, again, when now I was training them all as my staff members, I insisted on transforming them to be good, efficient practitioners and to empower them. So I think in my entire career, I have supported transformation. And even now, as I have made myself available, I can say without doubt that in particular, my colleagues from the KZN division, those who are from the disadvantaged background, they support they support my making myself available, because they believe that it will enhance and be part of the transformation process. As far as access to justice is concerned, firstly, I think the justice system, most people who are on the receiving end of the justice system are from the poor rural background, and I'm from that background. So if I'm one of them, to a certain extent, I understand their problems, I understand how they view issues. Even if I decide a matter where there were other witnesses or there were litigants, my understanding will have an input into that. So to a certain extent, to me, that is promoting access to justice. And then of course, within my limited authority, if I can simplify procedures and make the entire system to be user-friendly, that will promote access to justice, because clearly the cost of litigation, in particular in the High Court, is prohibitive, it's too expensive. But I think if there are judicial offices who understand the environment, the background of the litigants, somehow that can address the situation. I have, if one looks at my judgments, I have taken that into account. For instance, where you'll find that in a litigation, when the matter is litigated, the other side, which is financially able, they will be properly represented by a counsel. Then maybe the other side, they're not so much, they don't have the financial resources. But I will not simply say because, for instance, I have decided the matter in favor of the other side with financial resources, and therefore the cost follows suit. I have looked at the matter and see whether the issues justify giving cost to the successful party, or the issues are of such a nature that you can order each party to pay his own cost. That is not to discourage the losing party, if for some reason he has to lose, but not maybe on the merits, to mulct him or penalize him with cost. So all those issues, if you are sensitive to the background of the litigants, you take it into account, and in my view, it promotes to a certain extent access to justice.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, MEC. Commissioner Nyambi, this time I got you right.
Thank you, CJ. Morning, Mr. Mngadi.
Morning, Commissioner.
You answered some of my questions when we were posting. So I'll just limit to two. The first one is in the relation to the political affiliation. The law bodies has raised that issue. What is the current status? How you intend dealing with it?
Well, the current status is that I'm not active in the political party. I am just a member, a card-carrying member, and then when the time comes to vote, and then I vote. I think it is the constitutional right of each citizen of South Africa to decide if he wants to belong to a political party. But I owe allegiance to the country as a whole, not to a particular political party. So they should really have no concern, because I don't look at persons or litigants as coming from different political parties. To me, I applied my mind to the best of my ability, honestly and conscientiously, to do justice in the matter, irrespective of the political affiliations of the litigants.
Thank you. The last one, you said you believe in accountability when you are still posting. So if you can share with us your understanding of judicial accountability.
Well, firstly, in particular, the position of a judge is a very, very responsible position. We say the Constitution grants authority to the judiciary, but in fact, it grants authority to each individual judge. So clearly, a person who occupies a position of a judge, it must be a person of high integrity, and that is a person who is accountable. So you are accountable in bearing in mind that, in fact, understanding the authority of your own office and using that power or that authority with responsibility and with restraint, and the way you carry yourself, and then of course also the way you conduct the proceedings which are before you. You conduct them in an accountable manner. For instance, you bear in mind that there are costs involved, so you cannot allow the matter to drag. You have to guide the parties, and you have to make sure that the matter is dealt with efficiently. And of course, you also bear in mind that there are public funds involved in the litigation. So you cannot simply let the parties drag the matter on, because that is the time for the court is mainly borne by the public fund. So again, you have to bear in mind that. Then again, in your judgments, when you deliver judgments, firstly, by avoiding delays, because the parties might have been waiting to be given a hearing for some time, and then to let them wait further for the judgment in the matter, it shows that you are not accountable. And of course, in your own judgments, as I have indicated, to the best of your ability, you try and you make sure that you give the best. I mean, you apply your mind to all the relevant issues, and then you give the best decision that you can give in the circumstances. Of course, bearing in mind that in particular, I've got mainly a criminal background. You are accountable in the sense that in criminal matters, it's a sensitive matter. It involves the life of a person, especially in high court matters. So even if you are wrong and then your decision is reversed on appeal, but the person will have spent time in jail, he will have suffered prejudice. So to bear that in mind and be accountable that you try and get it right the first time, again, I think that is important. So to me, holistically, that accountability must indeed be borne by the judicial office.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Commissioner Nyambi. Commissioner Fori.
Thank you, Chief Justice. It's morning still, Mr. Mngadi. Are you well?
Morning, I'm well, thank you, Commissioner.
Mngadi, I just need to clarify some confusion that I have as to your current status and your career path, and that flows from an answer that you gave to a question that the
Yes.
Chief Justice posed to you.
Yes,
If I look at your questionnaire and your CV,
yes,
you say, I'm not going to repeat everything, you say that you were a practicing attorney until September 2005.
that's correct, yes.
Then you joined Legal Aid South Africa from 2005.
Just a correction, Commissioner Forey. I was a practicing attorney running my own practice
Yes.
until 2005. But I remained an attorney even after joining the legal aid.
Yeah. But you were practicing as an attorney until 2005.
No, even when I was with the legal aid, I was practicing as an attorney. But it's only that I was not
No, no, I'm
practicing
talking about your
independently.
own firm practicing in
That's
that sense.
correct, yes.
But that's not my question, really. Then you joined Legal Aid from 2005 to 2017, April 2017. And then you say in both your questionnaire and your CV that you, since 2017, you are a practicing attorney with Mngadi and Partners.
Yes.
What confuses me is that, flowing from a question that the Chief Justice put to you, you said that because you've been acting so much, you haven't really activated your firm, or words to that effect.
That is
What does that mean?
Well, it simply means that in private practice, if you are running a practice, you have to dedicate yourself to the running of the practice. So if you are acting a judge, as you will see, the period that I've been acting as a judge, you cannot, during the same period, be effectively running a practice.
But my question then is there an existing firm, Mngadi and Partners, registered with the KZN Law Society?
No, you don't register a firm, you you advise the law society that you have opened a practice,
Yes, yes.
and then you
And
open a trust account.
they register it in their system.
And then you opened a trust account,
Yes.
yes.
Now,
And then
is-
you can be able to take instructions.
And you
In
need
my
a,
case, I am
now let me just complete.
just a
And
minute.
you also need a fidelity fund certificate.
That is correct, yes.
No. Just tell me, is the firm operating? Has it got a trust account? Have you got a fidelity fund certificate? I'm not cross-examining you, I just need to
yes,
understand.
No, I understand, sir. No, that's why I said to the Chief Justice, I have not reactivated the firm because deliberately I am not taking instructions from the members of the public. I have not opened a trust account. But I remained a fully paid up member of the Law Society as an attorney.
So since you left Legal Aid South Africa in April of 2017, you haven't practiced as an attorney?
Well, that is correct, yes, I haven't practiced as an attorney, but if you look at my, when I completed the questionnaire, you will notice that in fact, in April 2017, when I resigned the legal aid, I was acting as a judge in the North Gauteng. And then from that date, I've been acting continuously. In fact, even last month in March 2018, I was acting based in Durban. So clearly, that's why I have not activated the practice to run the practice.
Okay. So this reference that you're a practicing attorney since 2017 on your questionnaire is then not correct? And the last time that you practiced in your own practice for your own account as an attorney was in 2005?
Well, I don't understand it because, as I've said, I'm a practicing member of the Law Society, or let me say I'm a paid-up member of the Law Society. And in fact, even for me to act as a judge, I must be a practicing or an attorney. So I regard myself as a practicing attorney because I can even now appear in court and conduct litigation in court as an attorney.
Let's just
So
limit it to the questionnaire, and I think I've I now understand that you haven't been a practicing attorney since 2017.
Yes, that's right, since April
So
2017.
this is incorrect. And the last time you
No,
practiced...
I wouldn't say, Commissioner, that is incorrect. In my view, I am an attorney and I'm an active attorney.
If time permitted, I just want to explain to you, you're either on the practicing role of a law society or you're on the non-practicing role. If you're on the practicing role, you have to have a Fidelity Fund certificate. And do you have that at the moment?
No, I don't have a Fidelity Fund certificate.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner Fourie. Advocate Mpofu, SC.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Is it still morning? Yeah, okay. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Pofu.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Yes, I think just to follow up, CJ, I was going to ask you one question, but just to follow up on Mr. Fourie's question.
Yes.
Surely, what you have said in your questionnaire cannot be correct. It might be an oversight because you've filled in the under name of employer Mngadi and partners. And then practicing attorney 2017 to date. To date means until now. So one of those things is wrong, whichever one it is. Either the 2017 to date or the Mngadi and partners, because according to you, Mngadi and partners no longer exist or is not registered. So, and it might be something you want to clarify, but so that it's not held against you. Maybe you filled the form, without applying your mind to the specifics of the questions that are being put to you now.
Commissioner Mpofu, I do understand the
Have you got it in front of you? The form?
Yes,
Okay, page 2.
yes, page 2.
Yeah, the bottom of page 2.
Yes. As I have explained, Commissioner Mpofu, I still regard myself as a practicing attorney.
That's fine. So let's tick that one. And
Yes.
then, are you practicing attorney under Mngadi and partners?
Well, clearly, even if you, my problem is that currently, I have not activated Mngadi and partners to have a Fidelity Fund certificate and take instructions.
So
Yes.
therefore, you're not a practicing attorney under Mngadi and partners. Correct?
So you are not practicing. I
If
don't,
you-
I just,
Yes.
why is this a problem? You are not practicing. To practice means receiving clients, taking instructions, going to court or doing some work on their behalf. You have not been doing that since 2017. Are we mistaken?
No, that is correct, Chief Justice.
Yeah,
have
so I don't
explained.
understand. How do you practice then? If you are not doing anything practical as an attorney?
Thank you, Chief Justice. I understand it. Yes, I have not been practicing as an attorney.
Thank you. Okay, that's fine. Thanks, that's cleared up now. Right, then the next question has to do with the political affiliation question.
Yes.
I'd like you to please clarify that. It's something that I have, for obvious reasons, had to grapple with for a long time. Firstly, you say that you've been a member of the ANC since 1976 to date.
That is correct, yes.
Does that mean that you were in the underground between 76 and 1990, like some of us?
Well, 1976, I was doing matric, and maybe I was not a card-carrying member of the ANC.
No,
but
nobody was
clearly-
a card-carrying member. I'm saying, are you between 1976 and 1990? Were you active in the underground structures of the ANC or not? Since you were in the country, how did you become?
Yes,
Or what kind of member were you? Maybe I should put it openly.
What I meant is that I regarded even at that time the African National Congress
As your
as
home.
my political party.
All right, fine.
Yes.
Now, the reason I'm asking that is because I wanted to find out what did you do with that membership, whatever its form was, when you were a magistrate in 1985.
What do you mean if you say,
Well,
what
okay.
did I do with my membership?
No, okay,
Because
let-
when you become a magistrate, you are not asked about your membership.
No, no, yeah, okay. No, okay, let me explain something to you. The question alludes to this, maybe I'll give you an example.
Yes.
Well, you know, in 1999, I was asked to act as a judge, and at that time I was serving in the executive structures of the ANC. And my comrades didn't understand the idea that I refused to go to meetings. Because they said, well, you are a judge during the day, you can come to the meeting in the evening.
Yes.
And I explained that you couldn't do that.
Yes.
I didn't give up my membership, so I understand what you're saying. But what I'm saying is that could you be a judicial officer and still be a member of a political party? Forget about the 80s now. I'm talking now.
Well, as far as I know, even now,
You can.
you can be a member of a political party and be a judge or a judicial officer, as long as you are not active in the political activities of your political party.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Justice.
So if you were to be appointed, you'll still be a member of the ANC or some other political party. Is that what you are saying? We are not talking about voting. We're talking about owing loyalty to a particular political party, taking instructions from a particular political party, being capable of being deployed one way or the other by a particular political party, whatever its name. You believe you would still do that. You will remain a member of a political party, whatever its name, as a judge.
To be honest, Chief Justice, I have not thought about that, and I think maybe on proper reflection, I can still vote for my political party, but maybe terminate my membership of that political party if I'm appointed as a judge.
No, we need clarity. You see, I can still vote for my political party and maybe... it's a question of principle here. Is it reconcilable with the impartiality required of a judge? For a judge to maintain loyalty or allegiance to any political party during active service and even after retirement? That's the question.
Now, Chief Justice, clearly a judge owes his or her allegiance to the Constitution only, so he cannot owe allegiance to any other.
Why is
entity or
that so?
organization.
What is the problem? Why should a judge know? You see, it's important to understand that you understand your answer. Why is it not appropriate, in your view, for a judge to be a member of a political party?
Well, the judge has to take his authority only from the Constitution, and he must be seen to be applying the Constitution, or he must apply the Constitution impartially, without fear, favor, or prejudice. And in fact, the independence of the judiciary means that the judges who are serving in the judiciary as individuals themselves, they are independent and they are only subject to the Constitution.
How would membership of a political party interfere with that independence or undermine that independence?
Well, if you're a member of a political party, and then it will be seen as that you are owing allegiance to that political party, therefore you are not acting impartially and you are not subject only to the Constitution and the law.
Is it a question of being seen as if, or are there practical challenges in relation to maintaining that status? Practical challenges that touch on principle? And if so, what are they?
Well, Chief Justice, The judiciary, in my view, is defined by its independence. So anything which affects the independence of a judge must be removed. So in this case, membership of a political party, in my view, affects the independence of a judge, and therefore it has to be removed.
You see, I'm taking longer than I should deliberately because I don't want you to disadvantage you.
Yes.
How, in simple language, does it impact negatively on independence? How?
Well, if you are a member of a particular political party and then you are associated with that particular party, and therefore it affects your independence as a judge because you are only subject to the Constitution and the law.
But how does being a member of a political party interfere with your impartiality or independence as a judge?
Well, if you are a member
In
of a
practical terms, give
Yes,
us
yes,
examples maybe, one or two.
Well, clearly, if you're a member of a political party and then that political party can give instructions to you because you're a member of that political party. And as I've indicated, the judge applies the Constitution and the law impartially without fear, favor, or prejudice.
Yes.
So if you are taking instructions, or in fact, even if you can take instructions from your political party and then that interferes with your duty, the primary duty of a judge.
Why are you realizing that only now, upon such an extended probing? Why did you not realize it while you were magistrate? Why are you realizing it even only now? And why does it take so long to get to that answer?
Chief Justice, at the time when I was a magistrate, which was in 1985, I was not a card-carrying member of a political
Or it was during the apartheid era?
That's right. It's only that you yourself, you regarded yourself as, your political party is
Yes.
African National Congress.
Okay.
I was not a card-carrying member.
Now, why did you not realize that it could be a problem? Is there any reason?
I think, Chief Justice, I associated it with simply the right to vote. And that-
Okay.
Yes, I
Okay.
simply looked at it in that terms. In fact, my view is that initially I took it that you might be a member of that political party, but if there is a dispute involving even your own political party, if they are on the wrong, you'll simply rule
Yes.
against them. But
What-
I understand now the
Yes.
implications.
Was that membership in your heart, or did you practicalize it by taking a card? Were you a member in your mind or in your heart, or did you actually register as a member?
At a particular stage, Chief Justice, I actually registered as a member of the African National Congress in my own branch in Escort.
Okay, and you are still a member, the membership hasn't lapsed?
The membership hasn't lapsed. If
Okay.
I am appointed, I'll have to terminate it.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mngadi, you're excused. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Commissioner Singh, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. No, I was out for a while. I'm sorry about that. Good day, Mr. Mngadi. Ntusi, is
Good
it?
day, good day,
No,
Commissioner.
I just want to follow up on this political affiliation. And we all know that KwaZulu-Natal, and I think Advocate DJP Madondo knows more than anybody else, that KwaZulu-Natal was a theater of violence, black-on-black violence, in the 80s and 90s.
Yes.
Have you ever presided over any matter which dealt with politics and violence between political parties during that period?
Commissioner Singh, in my area, which is around Escort, the violent conflict started after the 1994 election. So at that time, I was a practicing attorney. I was not a magistrate, so I could not preside on any matters relating to the political conflict.
Okay, so you were defending those people that were accused of violence. Fine, I accept that. In your letters of support, and there are many and very good ones as well from Amakosi and all sorts of people. In the one from a Mr. Mbongeni Hector Mngadi, who it's written in isiZulu, and amongst other things he says he grew up with you, and you are a very nice person, and you help for funerals, etc., etc. But attached to that is a debt counseling application pack. I'm just trying to see why that was included as part of the letter of support.
Well, Commissioner Singh, when the comments were made available to me, and then I noticed that there was that debt counseling application which had been completed. But I noticed that in fact the person who was applying for debt counseling was that person, Hector, who was making a comment about me. And then after that I happened to meet him and I found out and asked him how did it happen that his debt counseling form accompanied the comment. And then he said when he was asking the assistant at the internet cafe to send the comment, he had instructed that the debt counseling form be sent somewhere else, but the assistant erroneously sent it to the Judicial Services Commission. That's how it happened to be part of the comment.
I accept that. For a moment I thought it was yours, and then I saw no, it was another Mngadi, but not yours. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner Singh. Commissioner Mampuru.
Ke a leboga Moahlodi Mogolo. Dumela ntate.
Dumelang, Commissioner.
In his State of the Nation address, His Excellency Ntate Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa spoke about the new dawn and stated something from one of the songs by our late musician Yuma Sikila, Tumamena. Without the 2 primary schools that you have adopted and the motivational talks that you give to learners and staff, do you regard yourself as one of the best seeds that the community you're living in and living with might regard you as a selfless person? What other contributions are you giving to the society that you are living with? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. As I have referred in my questionnaire relating to my involvement in community affairs, I referred to the Peace and Development Committee, and I also referred to my involvement with the traditional authorities. I also regard, Commissioner, my involvement with legal aid as it did and in my limited sphere as my commitment to helping the poorest of the poor. So I think that right through my life, if not in my career, I have always been part of and ready to contribute to the challenges faced by the communities.
Ke a leboga.
Ba lebogile rona. Mr. Mngadi, you're excused.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you so much.